Hey everyone, thanks for joining me today. You've probably heard the big names in true crime history, Jack the Ripper, that sort of thing. But history has plenty of lesser-known stories that still show how complex, and sometimes tragic, the past really was. Today we're looking at 10 cases from different eras and places, all involving people accused of taking multiple lives. These are drawn from historical records, court documents, and contemporary accounts. We'll keep things factual, focus on what we know, and talk about the context of the times. No sensationalism, just the stories as they've come down to us. Let's start with number 10. Number 10. The 331 BC poisoning case in ancient Rome. Back in 331 BC, Rome was dealing with what looked like a strange wave of deaths among prominent citizens. According to the historian Livy, a slave came forward and revealed that a group of women had been preparing and distributing poisonous mixtures. Investigators tested the claim by having some of the accused drink their own concoctions in front of officials. When the women collapsed, it confirmed the substances were lethal. In the end, around 170 women were arrested and found guilty after a formal inquiry. The motive remains unclear even today. Some historians suggest domestic disputes or attempts to influence inheritance. Others point to social tensions in a growing city. It's one of the earliest recorded mass poisoning investigations in Roman history, and it shows how seriously the Republic took threats to public safety. Number 9. Liu Pengli, Prince of Zhejiang, Han Dynasty, China. Fast forward to 144 BC in ancient China during the Han Dynasty. Liu Pengli, a prince and nephew of Emperor Jing, was given control of the Zhejiang region. Historical records from Sima Qian's Records of the Grand Historian describe how, over nearly 3 decades, he and a small group of followers carried out nighttime raids on villages. They were accused of robbing and killing more than 100 people purely for sport. Fear spread so widely that locals stopped going out after dark. Eventually, a victim's son brought the case to the imperial court. Liu was stripped of his title and exiled. The emperor chose banishment over execution because of family ties. It's a reminder that even those at the very top of society weren't always held to the same standards as everyone else. Number 8. Peter Stumpp in 16th century Germany. Now to 1589 in Bedburg, Germany. A farmer named Peter Stumpp was accused of multiple killings during a time when Europe was gripped by fears of witchcraft and werewolves. Under interrogation, which, like many trials of that era, involved coercion, he confessed to a long list of crimes and claimed a magical belt let him turn into a wolf. Contemporary pamphlets reported at least 14 victims, including members of his own family. His confession led to the execution of Stumpp, his daughter, and another woman on October 31st. Historians today debate how much of the story was shaped by the intense superstition and legal practices of the time. It remains a striking example of how fear could drive communities to extreme measures. Number 7. Darya Saltykova in 18th century Russia. In the mid-1700s, Russia's noble class held enormous power over serfs. Darya Nikolaevna Saltykova, a wealthy widow, was later accused of abusing and killing dozens of the people who worked on her estates. Survivors and families eventually brought complaints all the way to Empress Catherine the Great. After a lengthy investigation, Saltykova was convicted of 38 murders. She was publicly humiliated, then imprisoned for life in a monastery basement, where she stayed until her death in 1801. The case highlighted the harsh realities of serfdom and the limits of noble privilege under Catherine's rule. Number 6. Gesche Gottfried in 19th century Bremen. Early 1800s Bremen, Germany. A woman named Gesche Gottfried was known locally as the Angel of Bremen because she cared so devotedly for sick neighbors and relatives. Between 1813 and 1827, she was later found to have poisoned at least 15 people, including family members, using arsenic mixed into food. When a suspicious friend saved flakes from his meal and had them tested, the truth came out. She was arrested on her 43rd birthday, tried, and executed by beheading in 1831, the last public execution in the city. Her case still raises questions about why someone who seemed so caring would do such things. Number 5. John Lynch in colonial Australia. Jump to 1830s, New South Wales. An Irish convict named John Lynch worked as a laborer but was accused of killing at least 10 people while stealing cattle, wagons, and property. He used an axe or tomahawk in many of the attacks and even posed as a different man to claim land. When evidence piled up, he confessed in detail. He was tried, convicted of one murder, and hanged in Berrima in 1842. His story is often cited as one of the earliest documented serial cases in Australia's colonial period. Number 4. Manuel Blanco Romasanta in mid-19th century Spain. In the 1840s and early 1850s in Galicia, Spain, a traveling salesman and guide named Manuel Blanco Romasanta was accused of leading people into the woods and killing them. He confessed to 13 murders, but claimed he suffered from a curse that turned him into a wolf, what we'd now call clinical lycanthropy. A court examined him, rejected the defense, and found him guilty of 9 killings. Queen Isabella II commuted his death sentence so doctors could study him. He died in prison in 1863. The case blended folklore with early attempts at forensic psychiatry. Number 3. Catherine Wilson in Victorian England. Victorian London, 1860s. A nurse named Catherine Wilson cared for wealthy patients. She was accused of poisoning several of them after persuading them to change their wills in her favor. She used colchicine, a substance that could mimic natural illness. After one victim survived and reported her, investigators connected earlier suspicious deaths. She was tried, convicted of 1 murder, and became the last woman publicly hanged outside Newgate Prison in 1862. The case made people question how much trust they placed in caregivers. Number 2. Juan Díaz de Garayo in 19th century Spain. In the 1870s, near Vitoria in northern Spain, a laborer named Juan Díaz de Garayo was accused of attacking and killing women, 5 adults and 1 13-year-old girl, over 2 separate periods. Locals linked the crimes to an old folktale about a fat extractor, giving him the nickname as Sacamantecas. He was arrested in 1879, confessed, and was executed by garrote in 1881. His crimes left a lasting mark on local memory. Number 1. The Unsolved Bochum Case, 1878 to 1882. Germany. Our final story comes from the countryside around Bochum in late 19th century Germany. Between 1878 and 1882, 8 women were found murdered in rural areas with clear signs of sexual violence. The press coined the term Lustmord, murder driven by lust, to describe the pattern. Police arrested and executed a man named Friedrich Heinrich Karl Harman, not the later Hanover killer of the same name, but the killings continued for months afterward. The real perpetrator was never caught. The case shocked the public so deeply that Germany reinstated the death penalty, which had been abolished 15 years earlier. It also pushed for better investigative methods and sparked wider conversations about sexual violence and victim blaming. And that brings us to the end of our look at these 10 historic cases. They span centuries and continents, but they all show how societies have grappled with violent crime, justice, and the search for answers. History isn't always comfortable, but studying it helps us understand where we've been, and hopefully, how far we've come. If you found any of these stories interesting, drop a comment below. Which one surprised you most? Or suggest another lesser-known case you'd like to hear about. Thanks so much for watching. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you in the next one.